the Boston Celtics could not stop Bam Adebayo. He led the Heat in points, rebounds, steals, and soul-crushing blocks.
Bam says, get it out of here!
But we already knew that was Boston's problem. They have an obvious hole at the center position, but now they have an offseason to solve it. The issue? They've got no money and too many players already. The Celtics will have one of the busiest off seasons in the league, guaranteed. This video explains the moves they have to make and why it all centers on Gordon Hayward. Hit subscribe because we're trying to reach 100,000 subscribers by January 1st. This is AM Hoops. I am Casey Kiernan. I know we can make it. It's a really ambitious goal. If you're already a subscriber, tell a friend maybe. If you don't subscribe but you watch these videos, just click that little button. Boston Basics, cap space $0. In fact, they're a tax-paying team, so they just have the $5.7 million taxpayer mid-level exception. Draft 3 first-round picks at 14th, 26th, and 30th overall. Their needs, obviously, a big man, and depth at basically every position. Relevant free agents, Gordon Hayward with a player option, Enes Kanter, also a player option, and Brad Wanamaker, a restricted free agent. First thing, before we get to this Hayward deal, the Jayson Tatum deal, the max extension. Like Anthony Davis in LA, the Celtics shouldn't debate paying their star. He was an all-star last year. He averaged about 23 points on 45% from the field and 40% from downtown. He took that superstar leap in February, scoring 31 points a game. The advanced stats love him, and he's a winner. The Celtics have made the conference finals 3 of 4 years with Tatum as their best player. He will get a max extension for about $160 million over 5 years. That will make him the highest paid Celtic ever. They've had some pretty good players. He'll be the first max extension of Danny Ainge's career, and he's been leading the C's for 17 seasons. But the big problem, and in one word, it's flexibility, and that covers finances and the roster. So player-wise, you can have 15 players on your team. The Celtics already have 14 with 4 draft picks coming in. Financially, they are way over the salary cap and the luxury tax, so I expect a lot of aggressive moves. They need to cut down on players and salary. The first is those draft picks. At 14th overall, I think the Celtics will take no one. Seriously, they already have young guys to develop. Romeo Langford, Carson Edwards, Robert, or Grant Williams. Unless like Killian Hayes drops to 14, they should trade all of their first round picks. They have 4 options to trade these picks. The first is to trade all their firsts to get up into the top 8 of this draft. Second, trade out of this year's draft altogether for more picks later on. Third, dump bad contracts like Enes Kanter and attach a pick. And last, use them in a Gordon Hayward trade. And that leads us to the Hayward decision. He will pick up his option, obviously, next year for $34.2 million. That's as much as Kawhi Leonard. The Celtics need to do something with Hayward to avoid paying a gigantic luxury tax bill and to improve their team. Here are the 3 options for Hayward. Number 1, he picks up the 1-year option and they run it back with mostly the same team. 2, he turns down the option and signs a new multi-year deal for less money. 3, they trade him. Honestly, I think trading Gordon Hayward makes the most sense because they can solve their biggest roster issue at center and fix the money issue by getting his deal out of there. But it sucks because I wanted to see it work out. You felt so bad for him and the team when he broke his ankle like that on like the first night as a Celtic, but I do think moving on works. And trade number 1 is Steven Adams for Hayward straight up. The Thunder obviously get the better player here, but they don't have to pay up for him because he's on an awful contract. Lucky for the Thunder, they can absorb the extra money without matching salary. In OKC, Hayward can replace the shooting they lost with Danilo Gallinari and the leadership of Chris Paul, assuming both leave. This is a great fit for Boston, too. Steven Adams is an excellent starting center with good defense, rebounding, athleticism, and inside scoring. He doesn't shoot the 3, so he's not perfect, but at 27 years old. He fits their timeline, and he could negotiate a contract to stay after this season. Next, Rudy Gobert. For Hayward, Robert Williams, and the 2020 first. The Jazz want to surround Donovan Mitchell with good young talent. Robert Williams was useful in the regular season, and he got great experience in the playoffs. They also add that lottery pick for this year. Hayward returning to Utah would be amazing, and if he returned to Utah form, this would be a great trade for the Jazz. A lot of people think Utah is exploring packages for Gobert because he wants the Supermax. He's already 29 years old and they haven't won big with him. This Celtics offer, not the best they could get, but it is competitive. In Boston, Gobert is the best center they've had since Kevin Garnett. But my favorite trade is Miles Turner for Hayward and the 14th overall pick. The Pacers do this to re-sign Victor Oladipo next offseason, having traded Turner's contract. They also get a lottery pick and a former All-Star in Gordon Hayward. The Celtics had to include 14th overall because Turner is under a valuable team-friendly deal for 3 more seasons. He is my top target for Boston because he fits their center need, is just 24 years old, and they get under the luxury tax. Again, while I hate to see Gordon Hayward go, it just makes too much sense. It solves a lot of their issues, but still, they're gonna have to trade all those first-round picks or cut some guys. I think the biggest cut candidates are Semi Ojeleye, Brad Wanamaker, and Javonte Green at least. But trading Hayward is an important step. Finally, free agency, and the Celtics are at a disadvantage as a tax-paying team. Most teams have the full mid-level exception at about $10 million. Boston just $5.7 million. Here's who I think they could land with that deal. DJ Augustine. Boston ain't missing Brad Wanamaker if Augustine comes to town. He is a huge upgrade at the backup point guard spot. Historically, a great three-point shooter. He averaged 42% from downtown 2 of the last 3 years. That kind of shooting would be welcome for kickouts from Kemba or Tatum, and he'd keep the second unit afloat. Next, Aaron Baines. Yes, the return of Baines after they had to let him go to sign Kemba. Baines might be offered more than this, so it's not a guarantee, but it is a no-brainer. Boston fans already know he is a decent scorer at the rim and even better outside. He brings the hustle and he knows the system. Our last free agent target is Paul Millsap. You're going to see him a lot on free agent lists because Millsap is a 4-time All-Star, a respected vet, but most importantly, still productive. He's a durable defender who still contributes 12 points a night on 43% from downtown. He's a career power forward, but he could play small ball center in Boston. So the big Celtics takeaways are, it all hinges on Gordon Hayward, and they don't have a lot of flexibility. But that's not a bad thing. They're already one of the most talented teams in the Eastern Conference, just a few moves away from returning to the finals.
Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.